We will walk through how you can review your Danish tax statement carefully, understand the key elements, and avoid the most common mistakes that lead to unexpected payments or missed refunds. Each year, Skat makes a preliminary assessment based on information they receive from your employer, your bank, and other institutions, but ultimately, you are responsible for ensuring that the information is correct. Taking 10 to 15 minutes to review your annual statement can make a meaningful difference to your finances and help you avoid unpleasant surprises later on. We will focus on 3 main areas: confirming your income and deductions, checking your allowances and credits, and making sure your preliminary tax assessment is updated for the current year. Let us start with the basics. Begin by logging into Skat.dk with your Meet ID. Once you are logged in, navigate to your annual statement, the årsopgørelse. This is usually available in March for the previous tax year. The first thing to check is your income. Look at your salary, any freelance or side income, unemployment benefits, pensions, and other taxable income. Compare these figures to your own records, your lønsedler, annual statements from your bank, and any contracts for freelance work. It is important that the numbers match. If your employer or bank has reported something incorrectly, you must correct it in the system. Pay particular attention if you have changed jobs, had multiple employers, worked part-time, or received bonuses during the year, as these situations are where discrepancies most often occur. Next, review your deductions. In Denmark, some of the most common deductions include the employment deduction, transport deduction for commuting, union and unemployment fund fees, and interest on loans. The employment deduction is calculated automatically, but commuting and other items often require more attention. For your transport deduction, check that the distance between your home and your workplace is correct, and that the number of days worked on site is realistic. If you have worked from home for a significant part of the year, you may need to reduce the number of commuting days. Similarly, confirm that your union and ACASI contributions are fully registered. These are usually reported automatically, but if you have switched unions or changed your membership, errors may occur. If you have a mortgage or other loans, verify that the interest deduction matches the information from your bank's annual statement. Even small errors in interest reporting can influence your final tax result. Beyond standard deductions, you should also consider whether you are entitled to other, less common deductions or allowances. For example, if you have supported a spouse or children abroad, or if you have had specific work-related expenses that are not covered by your employer, you may have options for additional deductions. These rules can be complex, and in such cases, it can be worth seeking advice from Skat's guidance service or a professional advisor to ensure you apply the rules correctly. Once you have verified income and deductions, turn your attention to tax credits and personal allowances. Check that your personal allowance has been applied correctly, and that any allowances transferred between spouses are reflected as expected. If you are married or in a registered partnership, it can be advantageous to coordinate allowances to ensure they are used in the most tax-efficient way. Also, verify that church tax, if applicable, is correctly included or excluded according to your membership. In some cases, changes in municipality or church membership during the year may not be reflected accurately unless you update your information. When you are comfortable that your annual statement is accurate, look at whether you have a tax refund or a payment due. If you are due a refund, ensure your bank account details are up to date so that Skat can transfer the amount without delay. If you have tax to pay, pay attention to the payment deadlines. Paying late can lead to interest and fees, so it is sensible to plan ahead and, if needed, split the payment within the allowed time frame rather than waiting until the last moment. Just as important as reviewing last year is updating your preliminary assessment, the årsopgørelse, for the current year. Many people forget this step and end up underpaying because their situation has changed. If you have started a new job, moved to a different municipality, bought or sold a home, taken a loan, or experienced major changes in income, go to your årsopgørelse and update the relevant fields. A more accurate preliminary assessment helps ensure that you pay the right amount of tax during the year and reduces the risk of a large bill the following spring. As you work through your statement, keep in mind a few practical tips to avoid mistakes. First, always cross-check what Skat shows with your own documentation. Never assume that automated data is flawless. Second, be especially careful in years with major life changes, such as marriage, divorce, relocation, or starting a business. Third, keep your information organized. Save your annual bank statements, pension overviews, and loan documents in one place so that you can quickly reference them. If you are in doubt at any step, use the guidance materials on Skat.dk or contact their support. It is much easier to correct an issue early than to deal with it several years later, when deadlines and interest charges may apply. Finally, remember that staying proactive with your Danish tax affairs is less about complexity and more about discipline. Investing a bit of time once a year to review your årsopgørelse thoroughly, confirm your deductions and allowances, and update your forskuddsopgørelse will help you avoid common pitfalls, safeguard any refunds you are entitled to, and give you greater control over your personal finances. If you found this walkthrough helpful, consider setting a reminder in your calendar each March to review your tax statement, and do not hesitate to seek professional help if your situation becomes more complex. Thank you for watching, and take the time to check your Danish tax statement carefully so you can avoid mistakes and manage your finances with confidence.